Can you ever write too many drafts of your personal statement? Let's talk about it. For those of you who are new, my name is Sydney Montgomery, and I'm the executive director and founder here at Barrier Breakers, where we work with students of all backgrounds on their law school application process, but we specialize in working with first-generation minority and immigrant students on their law school applications. And today we're continuing the conversation about how many drafts do you need to write for your law school personal statement. So I was talking about the fact that you're going to have probably at least 3 to 6, might be closer to 6 drafts, maybe 4 to 6 drafts of your personal statement. But on the flip side, you actually can write too many drafts of your personal statement, right? Like if we're on draft 10, 12, 15, we have done something wrong. We've gone off the path and we need to find a way to come back to a happy place. Usually when I see students that have had that many drafts, there are a couple of things that are going on. One, they have too many cooks in the kitchen, right? Because they write a draft and then they send it to friend A, and then they fix it, and then they send it to friend B, and then they fix it, and then they send it to their mom, and then they fix it, and then they send it to their dad, and then they fix it, and then they send it to the, right? And we've now sent it to 8 people, and we are on like 8 versions, and you're like, I don't even know which one I like anymore. And now you're trying to like maybe put them together, and you're going back to friend A, and friend A is like, who are these other people? It gets confusing and crazy. You don't want to send your personal statement to like 10, 15 different people. You are going to get 10, 15 different answers because every time someone different reviews your essay, they are looking at it with a different lens. That is the beautiful and kind of crazy part about the subjectiveness of writing and editing and feedback is that, no one is like the god of having the right answer. Everyone is giving you their sometimes professional, sometimes not professional opinion on your essay. And you have to decide as the author which comments you want to accept or reject and how you want to incorporate different voices. I don't suggest to my students to get a lot of different voices on their essays because it's confusing, because you're often going to get feedback that is conflicting and feedback that confuses you and leaves you potentially less confident about your story and your essay. So that is usually one of the main reasons why I see students who have such high draft counts is because they've just showed it to too many different people. Now you can choose a couple of people if you aren't working with a company or you're not in a pipeline program or any of those things. Like, of course, you may be relying on a couple of trusted people, but keep it a couple of trusted people that will keep you sane. Trust me, you will thank me later. The other reason why I see students get kind of off course is because they don't outline, big surprise, and they just started to write. And so now in their drafting process, they are brainstorming and they are figuring out their why law, and they might not have figured out their why law until draft 5, right? So draft 1 was talking about annual law and draft 5 is talking about space law. And you're like, how did we get here? And you were figuring it out as you were drafting, right? Which, you have to figure it out at some point. You are going to do the brainstorming and self-discovery work at some point in this process. I would prefer it to be before you start drafting so that you are not frustrating yourself and burning yourself out and giving yourself writer's block and not enjoying the process, because I think this process can be fun and I think there can be joy, but like there's no joy on draft 15. You're just frustrated and aggravated at that point, right? So if your personal statement drafting is going through the journey of figuring out why you want to go to law school with you, you're going to end up with a higher draft count. So I really suggest taking the time to brainstorm and figure out your why law and outline and have those transitions ahead of time so that you don't have to have quite so many drafts. I would say the third reason why people end up having a ton of drafts is honestly because they don't have good writing support. And this is not a knock on anyone. We work with students of all ages. Some people are in college and they're writing for school all the time. And some people have not written an essay in 25, 30 years. And that is okay. But it is important no matter where you are to get some good writing support. So some good understanding of paragraphs and structures and grammar and passive voice and active voice and all of those things that, they're just so sexy. We just love to talk about them. but it can be really helpful. And if you're starting your writing process and you know you're not a strong writer, or English is not your first language, or you just fell asleep in every single grammar class K through 12 because you knew you were going to be an engineer, God bless you. We need you because I'm over here on the writing side where I belong, different strokes for different folks. But if you know that's you, then you might end up with multiple drafts because it's just taking you a bit longer to get into the writing process. It's taking you a bit longer to find your groove. And you might be struggling with things like, do I put a paragraph break here? Or do I, how long is the sentence? What is a good transition, right? And that's where you could really use some writing support so that you're not spinning your wheels and you're working smarter and not harder. Ultimately, I want the personal statement drafting process, or the drafting process for all of your law school application essays, to be an enjoyable process. And I know most people do not feel that way about writing any of these essays. I promise you it can be fun, it can be filled with joy, and you can learn so much about yourself in this process. And I want you to have as stress-free a process as possible. So if you want to have a stress-free process, we would love to work with you on that process, whether that's just an a la carte essay editing, we will read a draft or two, we will streamline that process for you. Or whether you want to work with us in our comprehensive one-on-one advising so that we can hold your hand, not just through the application process, but also after you hit submit, negotiating your scholarships and waitlist decisions and letters of continued interest, which, yes, are actually just more essays at that tail end. It's sneaky how they get there. We want to help you through it all. You can definitely find the link below in the description or in our show notes. And of course, you can always email us at hello@barrier-breakers.org. We would love to hear from you. Let me know in the comments. How do you feel about drafting? How do you feel about the writing process? Do you have any good writing tips? Any ways to overcome writing block? I want to hear. I'm always looking for more tips. Definitely let us know. We can't wait to help you on your writing journey, and we are wishing you so much success this law school application process.